Senator Mounts,
Present.
Senator Newfield, Senator Peel, Senator Rivera,
Present.
Senator Rodriguez, Senator Wang,
Here.
Senator Wappelhorst, Senator Webb,
Here.
Senator Wright,
Present.
and Senator Zacharias.
Here.
Quorum has been met with 21 in attendance. Simple majority is 11. Two-thirds majority is 14, and two-thirds of the entire Senate is 19. We'll now move into Section 3, approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes of last week's meeting? Did we?
Yeah, motion to amend the minutes during questionings about the bill that Vice President Matt Madden made. Senator Balzer asked a question about the procedure, and it being logged in there instead of being absent would be nice.
Was the question, do you remember, was the question about whether there would be a pay increase? Okay.
The question was about whether or not the chief of operations position would warrant a pay increase with the changes, and you answered that it would not. You do not assume so.
Okay. And sorry for the confusion just there. The original amendment to the minutes was proposed by Senator Brumley, who's currently not here. So that's why we weren't able to get the specifics as quickly. That being said, are there any objections to this correction? All right, seeing none, are there any other corrections to the minutes? Okay, so the minutes are approved as is, and we'll move into Section 4, Public Forum. Tonight we have Andy Tompkins, who is the interim president who was appointed by the Board of Regents to serve as the president for the university.
Good evening. Well, it's an honor to have a chance to be with you tonight and to introduce myself a little bit to you, and so that we can start seeing each other on campus and so forth. As he said, my name is Andy Tompkins. To give you a little background on me, I was the CEO of the Board of Regents. I spent a lot of my career in public education. I was the Commissioner of Ed for our state. And then I retired in 2015. And then we had one of our presidents leave us in Fort Hays before Thanksgiving in 2016. So I went to Fort Hays to help them transition to a president. So I was there a year, left in December of 17, and so retired again. I've failed at retirement, as you can tell. Anyway, so this year I'm on my way back from Arizona. I have a brother there that's ill. And Blake from the Board of Regents called and said, and I'd heard that Dr. Bardo had passed away. And, obviously we're sad about that. But, can you help us until we find a new president? So it's an honor for me to be asked for this. And, I know there will be sometime I get to go back to retirement, but the truth is, imagine if you were out and you're coming back from Arizona and you get a call saying, would you be willing to do this? It's hard to say no to that. And especially here, having been at the Regents, I've been in all the institutions, and I was here before it was remodeled. I was here on the day they dedicated it, on Radigan, and I've seen it progress over the time. So I feel really great to have a chance to be here. And but I wanted to tell you just a little bit about, so what does an interim do? And I'm trying to keep the place moving forward for the next person. And a part of this is, think about it, if you were going to be the next person, This is a person who now I can learn from you all while I'm here and help that person know as they're coming in, hey, here's some of the issues you've got here. Here's some of the things they've been doing. You know, do you have any questions about what's going on? I mean, so part of my role is to help them with that. Of course, interacting with our constituents and with you. And one of the things we're going to try to do is I'm going to try to put together like 4 or 5 goals. So then, you know, y'all can kind of hold me accountable for those, you know, things that we're going to try to get done while I'm here, because so we kind of have some, you know, some direction about what we want to get done. But, you know, a lot of this is me trying to interact with you, learn about the institution, and then be a good advocate for you. I mean, that's the bottom line. With the legislature, with the Board of Regents, of course, many of them I know because I worked for them, and so forth. But to give you an idea of the process here, and if you've heard this before, I apologize, but I think it's important to let you know. So when you go hire a president, it takes about 6 months. Now, here's what they did. So that some of you all, somebody in here probably, or is going to be on the, maybe you, I don't know, but somebody in here is going to be on the search committee, because they get students on there, they got faculty on there, they got staff on, you know, community people on it. So they're putting that together right now. I already know, I've heard that they are. So the board will at some point approve that search committee. Then they'll identify like an outline of who are we looking for our next president. They'll also select a search firm, because that's typical what they'll do. Well, that search firm will want 2 months. So just walk with me. So let's say next week we have a board meeting. They approve who they're going to have in the search committee. Then they got to go hire the search consultant. Then they got to have their probably 2 meetings to finalize the profile. If it's to the search consultant by June, that'll be something. And then they'll take at least in 2 months. So here's what I guess. I guess they'll be screening and interviewing probably by September. And then, you know, there's a process, you know, in higher ed, there's a process they call airport interviews. So they'll have like 10 initially. Then they go have these private interviews, because those people don't want their name if they're not going to be a finalist. You know what I mean? So they'll go out and interview them in an airport somewhere. Then they'll screen it usually to 4 or 5, and then they'll come and be interviewed. So all of that. So let's say the board gets them hired by 1st of November, end of October, 1st of November. Then the question is, when can they get here? Now, if it's an internal person, they could probably start immediately, you know. But if it's an external, then it's when can they be here? So all that long story is to say, I'll probably be here at least through December, you know. I mean, because they won't leave where they are until second semester at the earliest. But I may have the privilege of being here until July, so I don't know for sure. But that's kind of what you can expect. And, you know, there'll be times people will be asking you for your input on what do you want to see in that person and all that. And you know, I just can't encourage you enough to give them that, because it matters what goes in that, because then what happens is that's what that consultant goes out looking for. And then the questions of the search committee are based on those things. So it's kind of important. But anyway, so that's who I am. I'm here to be as helpful as I can, a good advocate for you, and then try to help the place be ready to go when that next president comes. So another thing I thought I'd tell you is, you know, doesn't mean there are times I'm going to be gone, obviously, but I'm living over in the house. They got a bed for me, and I will be here generally. There's times like I'm going to go back for Easter for a thing I've already had on my calendar and that kind of thing. But generally, I'm going to be here right straight through until the time we get a new person. So does that kind of help you understand what's getting ready to happen? You have any questions? I don't want to take all your time, but if you have some questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Senator Rivera.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you've already had a little bit of a conversation about the search committee and the makeup of that. Do you know, or has there been conversations about how the students that are going to be on there are going to be selected?
It's usually done, I'm as honest as I can be, it's usually done by the CEO of the board and the board. And so what they'll do, they'll contact people here. They won't me, because, you know, I won't know because I haven't been here. But they'll be contacting people saying who are some students that are, you know, active. Usually it's from student government. I mean, so they may have your list right now of who owns in student government. I don't know. But that's kind of how they go about doing it. and they'll ask people here about who's in the community. So my guess is they might have asked the foundation, who are people who've been active, from the community and supporting and that kind of thing. So that's kind of how they do it. Okay? All right. Yeah.
Senator Mounts.
I just was curious of what your involvement was during the selection process for the new Fort Hays State University president, and like what your involvement was with the student government there.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, with the search process, I'm not supposed to be involved at all. But we did. I'm just being quite honest with you. We got to a point where there was that they had some difficulty in the pool. And so I got asked to make a call or two to some people that that's how it happened. That's the only involvement I had was when the board requested that I call a couple of people to encourage them to apply. In terms of student government, I went to student government. I visited with them. I met with their leadership and worked with them. Over that period of time, they went through some different issues that, I would be involved in helping them react to, or they had questions of me, but a lot of it was on issues that they were interested in, and of course, always like what you do for your fees, and what, because I go advocate for those on your behalf. And so, it was basically getting to know them and working with them, seeing them on campus, and responding if they had questions about anything that was going on. So I wasn't at every meeting, because there at least they said, we really don't want you at every meeting. So I said, well, I understand that. You've got your own things that you want to talk about. So I understand that. Anything else I can answer for you?
Are there any other questions for the speaker?
Well, I hope I get to know you while I'm here. And if you see me on campus, come up and remind me who you are, because I won't know the names yet. But it's an honor to be here for you, and thank you.
Thank you. Next, in public forum, we have Mr. Zubair Khan.
Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are having a wonderful Wednesday, and thank you for letting me speak with you tonight. So I'm here on behalf of the Multicultural Greek Council, so I just want to pub the STEP show for you today. So we have the 10th annual STEP show coming up on April 27th at 7 p.m., and it's going to be hosted in Koch Arena. So it'll be a great time to support the Multicultural Greek Council here at WSU, to learn about the rich history of stepping. It should be a great show. We have Mr. Bingshotz as our MC this year, who is absolutely hilarious. If you don't know who he is, would highly recommend that you look him up on Instagram if you have an Instagram, or on YouTube. So it should just be a really good show. I want to encourage all of you to come. If we have a group of 15 or more senators, we can give you all a deal. So instead of $10 tickets, which you can buy either at SI or online, we can give you $8 tickets instead at a group rate. But make sure to buy those soon to come out. It should be a really good show this year. If you have any questions about stepping, the STEP show, feel free to ask. But all I want to do is just put that on your radar and ask that you give that to your constituents as well. And with that, I yield to the floor.
Are there any questions for the speaker? All right, seeing none, thank you for coming. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in public forum tonight?
Hello, my name is Hannah Foster. I'm a graphic design student here at Wichita State. Recently, me and 4 other graphic design students went to Dallas, Texas to attend a portfolio review. It's also kind of like they have speakers there, they have workshops, they've got all these awesome things going on. Unfortunately, the club that we did it through doesn't actually fund us, but our professors do require that we attend 1 per year, 1 portfolio review. And this one's kind of special because we get to, interact with people from all across the nation. So like in Maryland, Virginia, Massachusetts, places that we aren't usually able to see good design. And so I was just going to talk to you guys today about getting reimbursed for that. So we had the conference tickets were $180 each. There were 5 of us, so that's $900. The hotel stay was $297, and our gas was $120. So that comes out to a total of $1,434. And so we'd really appreciate it if you guys could help us out. It's really a really good and awesome opportunity for us to talk to designers and people that we aren't usually used to talking to here, getting more exposure and stuff. I'm seeing if I'm missing anything. The School of Art, Design, and Creative Industries usually gives us some funding. We used all of that, or $2,500 of it, for Tad Carpenter to come talk with us. Tad Carpenter is a really good designer from Kansas City, and so he was able to talk to us about his career and stuff, which was really cool. So yeah, does anyone have any questions?
Senator Rivera.
Okay, you guys have a bill on the floor tonight that you're speaking for, or what reimbursement wise? Okay, yeah, okay.
Cool.
Yeah, that's this week. Senator King.
Okay. So you said that you're trying to be reimbursed for $1,400?
Yes.
Okay. So on our bill it's $1,317.
Yeah, right, okay.
Were you trying to get the full amount?
Yeah, let me explain.
Okay.
So originally we were taking one car, and then Jesus, one of the students that came with us, his job here in Wichita actually held him back because he had to finish up a project with them, and so he had to take his own car, so unfortunately he had to pay for his own gas. So that's why the extra amount is added on.
Are there any other questions? All right, Senator Laughlin.
So what is the difference in amount that you would like us to reimburse? Just the extra,
Oh, no, we haven't been reimbursed any of that yet, so the whole total would be...
Right. No, I mean, the extra, $73 or $83. Is that the...
That's for his gas?
For
Is that
his
what you're talking
gas,
about?
yeah.
For his gas.
Okay, perfect. So we would just need to make a motion.
Yes.
Senator Fugit.
Did you enjoy the conference?
I enjoyed it so much. It was incredible. I got to speak with some really awesome designers that I would normally speak with. I'm honestly really fired up about it, and I'm able to do some really cool stuff now. The talks are really inspiring. We have a portfolio review in Wichita that we do that we actually had this last weekend, and it was good. It just wasn't good, And so I really enjoyed it. It was an awesome opportunity, and it was, for seniors it was a job fair, and for juniors it was a portfolio review. So, we actually got some interest in some of our students for people that want to end up in Texas, which was really cool. So, it was awesome.
Senator Laughlin.
Did you guys have any job offerings or opportunities come up for
Yeah, so some people, I think actually Jesus got some emails back. I told everyone that I wasn't interested because I'm staying in Kansas because my mom won't let me leave. But yeah, so we've gotten some job opportunities, which is really cool. And the one junior that we had go, Hannah Issa, she got some really good feedback on her portfolio. So.
Senator King.
What club did you guys go through? I know that they didn't reimburse you, but what club was it?
Yeah, it's through AIGA, which is American Institute of Graphic Arts. So it's a national organization, but we're just a segment of it, if that makes sense.
Are there any other questions for the speaker?
Question would be for you. Is it possible to make a motion when the funding bill comes up to edit that amount?
Yeah, so to be clear, I emailed the president before this bill went up and I said, you already went on your trip, is this the exact amount? Because we'd have to change the bill.
Right.
So you all need more than 1317?
Yeah, and JC couldn't be here, so I'm kind of filling in for her. She just filled me in on that information. I'm not sure if she ever emailed me back. But yeah, the total is $1,434.39. And we have all the receipts if you need them or anything like that. So.
$1,300.49?
$1,434.39.
Yes, so Senator Laughlin, someone will have to make the motion to increase that amount because I didn't know about it before.
I apologize for that. It's fine.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in public forum tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll now move into Section 5, Officer Reports, Item A. The Chair now recognizes President Rowell for the reading of their report.
Alrighty guys, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet tonight. I have a meeting with Interim President Tompkins tomorrow. I'm very excited to have a one-on-one meeting. He seems like an incredible guy. We met him briefly earlier today, so I'm really excited for that meeting. I wanted to say thank you for everyone who helped last week with the professional clothing event in the Shocker Support Locker. The professional clothing event, we had 93 students served with this clothing. This is up from 48 last year, so I'm very excited about that increase. Additionally, Spirit expressed an interest to participate next year, so I'm really excited to see some of these partnerships with the Innovation Campus corporations continue to grow and flourish to serve students. So I'm really excited about that. And then lastly, I'm working on my transition guide. I've got about 3 or 4 pages of just outline notes, so I'm hoping to get that done this weekend on a plane. And lastly, just as a reminder, Sel and I will not be here next week because of our Model United Nations conference, but if you need anything, I can be reached by email, text, phone call, anything. If I don't get back with you right away, it's probably because I'm in the middle of the conference, but I will do my best to get back with you promptly. With that, I stand for questions.
Senator Laughlin.
I had some people contact me after the date of the professional clothing drive that said that they had clothes and they were like, oh, I wish I could have donated. Is there a way that we can still donate?
Yeah, we accept clothing donations throughout the year, and then we just take them over to the Career Development Center and they stay there. So if they want to take them to the Career Development Center or if they want to bring them to the SGA office, we'll take care of that.
Are there any questions for the President's report? All right, seeing none, we'll move into item B, the Vice President's report. So the big thing that I did last week had to do with the Senate Bill SB 61-081, which is the Government Relations Bill. I think it was like the day after the bill had its first read. Stella and Shelby both had some comments and like some feedback about like things that they thought didn't work about the bill. And it was things that I didn't really like take into consideration, and I'll go into like specifics about like what those changes are when it actually goes to the floor, because I'm going to make an amendment. But the moral is that I thought that they had some good points, and so I actually have a typed up amendment, which you would have seen in the email, that is just some changes that I think makes the bill more powerful and makes the changes to the role better. So that was a lot of what we worked on. We had like the initial conversation about it, and then we had another meeting about that to sort of iron things out when I had like come up with a proposed like, okay, so what do you guys think about this solution? So other than that, I made the changes to the journal. I haven't released it yet, but I'll probably I'll probably release it by the end of this week, the new journal, because there's may or may not be changes to it depending on the vote tonight. And then other than that, I've just been doing like office stuff like scanning ledge and trying to get the student fees bill like signed. There's been some confusion about whether it goes to Dr. Muma or Dr. Tompkins, but it's in Dr. Tompkins' hands, so once he gets around to it, he can sign it, and that can actually be passed. And as far as transition guides, so I'll probably, based on the assuming that I will probably be writing a Chief of Operations transition guide. I'll explain more. But I haven't been working on my transition guides because I've been working on that other stuff, and I'll get to working on the transition guides starting tomorrow. With that, I'll take any questions. All right, seeing none, we'll move into item C. The chair now recognizes Treasurer Yang for the reading of their report.
Okay, I'm a little sick if you couldn't tell, so if I start coughing, just ignore me. First, there is an amendment to Statute 27 up, finally. We'll talk about that later, but basically it discusses summer funding, which I think is a really good opportunity to serve more students, and it also changes a little bit about individual funding and a little bit about work funding, just some small things that we realized would work better and that we've realized hasn't worked in the past. Next, I've also been working on my transition guide, and in the time that I'm not spending doing my amendments or reimbursements, I'm working on cleaning up like my computer and preparing for the next treasurer to come in. Additionally, still working on lots of reimbursements. So a lot of people are coming back from their trips around March 30th, I think is like a huge date for a lot of people that are returning. So I'm still going through a lot of those org and individual funding requests. And along with that, Matt, Andrew, Katrina, and I did a video today. It wasn't a live stream, but we did a video about what each officer position kind of does and the traits that would be really good for each respective position. So keep an eye out for that. We'll have that captioned and up on YouTube, I think by the end of this week. Along with that, it means that applications are opening soon for next year or next year's session, so be sure to apply to that. Also encourage people to apply. It's really discouraging to see like 1 or 2 people apply for a really important position that lasts the entire year and serves a lot of students. So we want to make sure we have a good, like, diverse pool of applicants as well. And I'll stand for questions.
Are there any questions for the treasurer's report at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll move into section 7, other reports. Andrew's not here today, so we'll move into item B. The chair now recognizes Academics Chair Rivera for the reading of their report.
Hello, everybody. Everyone's looking good except Gabriel, so that's a good sign. So the Academic Committee has been working all year on our GTA award. So finally we've got the Qualtrics created for that, so Nancy and I worked on that. I sent that out to all of the deans, and they sent it out to all of their chairs, who work directly with the graduate assistants. We received in total 12 nominations, with one of the nominees receiving 2 separate nominations. So that's pretty exciting. We were hoping for about 15 to 20, so which was our kind of lofty goal for the first year. So getting to 12 is we're pretty excited about that. We're going to have the field narrowed down to 6. At some point tonight, I will email all the nominees and tell them, hey, you've been nominated, would you like to be considered? And then once we get those emails back, we're going to narrow it down to 6. And then amongst that 6, we're going to have a selection process to have a winner and then 2 runner-ups. Last week, I went with Nancy to pick out and purchase the award itself. So it's going to be a glass pillar. And the committee liked it, and the people that I've shown have also liked it, so I hope that you guys will also like it. Let's see here. Oh, the 2 runner-ups, we're going to get certificates that just say, like, honorable mention or runner-up, whatever. The language hasn't exactly been decided yet, but so we're going to recognize in total 3 graduate assistants for the work they've done this year and in the past years. And then the engraving shop asked that we turn in the winner by next Tuesday, so we're going to have all of that happen within the next week. We'll have the winner, and then they'll send it out to get it engraved and send it back. If anybody's wondering, I think it's going to be about $98, and that's just coming out of the academics budget, so we're good there. And then it will be decided by next Tuesday, and we will present the award at the final Senate meeting on the 24th, so just kind of be a last kind of hoorah thing, I guess, to have a good end to the session for this committee and for the student government. And then a transition guide, I opened it today and started working on it, so I'll have that done before the session is over. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Are there any questions for the chair's report at this time? Senator Fugit?
So was there one person per department that was nominated for the GTA of the year?
So it wasn't necessarily one person per department. I sent out the Qualtrics links to all of the deans on campus and told them to send it out to all of their departments because the departments work with the assistants, so they could have nominated 20 people per department if they wanted to. It was just dependent on the chair's specific interest in the award. So there's no limit on how many people from each department. It's just who did not get nominated versus who didn't.
Follow-up to that, do you know how many departments are represented?
I can get you the number. We asked them to tell us what department they are in, so I can get you that number. I didn't count them beforehand, so I'll get with you after this.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, we now move into item D. The chair now recognizes Safety and Student Services Chair Enns for the reading of their report.
everybody. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I got sick from one of my kids, because I'm student teaching at an elementary school, so that happens. Anyway, so other than being sick, over the past week I have been working on my transition guide. I've been working on it a very long time because I'm just trying to add up as much as I can. So if anyone is interested in my position, I would love to talk with you, specifically about what's worked and what hasn't, and also just in general, like the duties of the position. So other than that, though, in committee today we talked about what we are wanting to do next year, what everyone else that's not graduating is wanting to continue with next year, and I'm really hoping that there's a lot of carrying over initiatives and really looking into a lot of these topics. So the ones that we really talked about a lot were advising, still getting that going. Parking's always a thing. Ticket warnings, the amount that you get of those before actually getting a ticket, before there's been issues with like specific events and just getting tickets without warnings. Apparently you're supposed to get a certain amount of warnings before tickets, so that hasn't necessarily been happening. So that is definitely something to go through with next session. Concealed carry is an interest of some people's. Coffee with the cop, that was actually really great. I didn't get to talk with you all about that, but that was very successful, and continuing those. And partnering with the Center for Combating Human Trafficking again. So those are just a few things. And also international student insurance. So many issues, but I'm going to put all of those in my transition guide as well, and what worked and who to contact. So whoever takes this will be taken care of. Other than that, our tobacco legislation has been put on hold until next session, most likely. Senator Zacharias has done a fantastic job drafting a really good resolution. However, there's so much in it. It's loaded that it would be best for the next session to continue that and just make that an initiative from the start, is what we've decided. So shout out to her. She's done a great job. And we're just going to look over that, clean it up a little bit, really make sure it's really strong, and then hopefully next session you all will have a good time with that. So if you have any questions, I will take them.
Are there any questions for the chair's report? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into Section 8, Unfinished Business. Item A, SB-61-081, the Government Relations Committee Act. As we go in, we had the first read last week, so we'll go into debate, and at that I would like to make a motion to amend the bill with the amendment that I sent out with the meeting's email. All right, it has been motioned and seconded to amend the bill. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and speak a little bit on this amendment. So basically, what I'm doing with this amendment is there was a lot of talk with the feedback about how taking away all of the Chief of Operations stuff from the Chief of Operations and leaving it with just a Government Relations Committee Chair for that association committee doesn't leave the position enough to do. And also, there are some actual useful stuff in the Chief of Staff side of the Chief of Operations stuff. So I kept what I'm doing with this amendment is I'm basically taking the chiefing of operations part and I'm putting it back into the position when we pass the bill. And so basically what this involves as far as what the chief of operations stuff is that's helping cabinet stay organized. So a very small example of that is transition guides, right? It's the chief of operations job to say hey everybody, what's your progress on transition guides? Make sure that you're getting them done by this time, stuff like that. Another example would be officer reports. It's the chief of operations job to be okay, make sure you all are doing your officer reports and getting them submitted in time. Other examples, though, is on a less menial basis is when it comes to if a student who's just like an individual student, not necessarily like a senator or anything, wants to work on an initiative in SGA, the chief of operations should be the point of contact for that person, and that's how it's been in the journal in the past. So that way that chief of operations can like go to the person and say like, okay, hey, so, you know, this is a job for this position, and that allows you to, the chief of operations, to sort of guide the cabinet in working on whatever issue that student has. So that's kind of like, hopefully that paints a picture of the kind of stuff that we're keeping in the role, and that kind of thing is going to involve a lot more of this new positions day to day, and it's also going to make the name make a lot more sense. But we are still keeping the government relations stuff in there, so that'll be what the two parts are. And the part that we're not keeping is we're not reintroducing the legislative director stuff with this amendment. I felt like it was important to keep all of that in the vice president position, and so I'm taking all of that completely out of the chief of operations with the amendment. So with that, are there any questions about the amendment? Senator Rivera?
This is more of a procedural question, but are we having to vote on both SB-6181 and the amendment, or just one of them?
Yeah, you'll vote on the amendment first, and then you'll vote on the bill itself. Are there any other questions? Senator Balzer?
Does this amend? I've been going through the edits. Are you planning on handling how the committee that the chief of operations is now going to operate and run? Is that going to be a journal-specific thing, or are you going to keep that outside the journal so that way you can work on more specific changes outside of that for the specifics of how they will work and operate?
Yeah, so as far as like the committee, how it will operate, that I mean, obviously they're going to meet, right? They're not a Senate committee, so it's not like you have, I mean, you could have senators in there, but you don't have senators that meet during committee times, so they just meet at a time that the chief of operations would designate. If you would like, it might be a good idea to introduce some specific things, but otherwise, you know, you could make the case that it's better to leave it vague so that it's more flexible, because things that are put in the journal are like hard to work with. And also, part of this government relations committee is there's a lot that we can do. We have the general idea that we want to provide a specific focused group of people to go to higher ed day, and we want to increase like the association's reach like outside of its own sphere of influence. But like specifically what that looks like is going to be up to the committee to figure out. They're going to meet and they're going to say like, hey, you know, what ideas would be best to increase our relations with the government, and that'll be, you know, kind of like how we have different events in like safety and student services. Like, this was really successful, let's do it next year, or this wasn't successful, let's not do it, or whatever, right? So that'll be the same kind of situation there. Senator Wayne?
It sounds like it's like a totally committee that outside of student government. So are they like request funding through student government, or like it's a totally different thing?
Right, so I don't currently have any funding like allocated for this committee, partially because I don't actually know a whole lot about what our own budget looks like because I'm not the treasurer. Like this is so that when you go into the journal and the bylaws, it lists like two different kinds of committees. One is like the Senate committees, and the other is the association committees. And so the association committees aren't necessarily comprised of senators, and they exist for different purposes. So I think like one of the association committees is the scholarship committee, another is the Senate review board. So that's more of like a miscellaneous section of committees. So it'll still be a part of SGA, but no, it doesn't have a designated budget to it right now. Sure.
Follow up. So is that means for the next session they have to apply for the funding through student government?
I don't think they'll have to apply for funding. I do believe we have a budget for higher ed day already, so they'll at least have that. And then Gabe, if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, and oh gosh, that was really loud, sorry. And I think also when we think about standing committees, so like the Elections Commission is a standing committee, that budget is set by the treasurer with the Senate's permission. So the same cause will happen with any of the standing committees, but like Matt said, there is money set aside for higher ed day. Should the chief of operations deem they need more money, then they would have to go through the budget process, not through budget and finance, but through the treasurer to say, yes, we're going to give you this much more money, and then the Senate would have to approve that, and because that's the process that we do with standing committees.
Senator Balzer?
Do we want to appoint these members, or do you expect them to be appointed at the beginning of the school year or at the beginning of the session? So like around the May time or around August time?
I would imagine it would probably be best to appoint them around August time because, first of all, when you appoint them in May, you have like a lot of people who you have a chance of losing them basically over the summer. And also, when you're appointing in the fall, you get a chance to get people who are freshmen to come in. But the big reason why I would say you should appoint them in fall is because it allows the chief of operations time to settle into their role and learn the other parts of their job, and then go into this having known a little bit more. Is that a follow-up? Sure.
Do we want to put in the journal, because that seems like a pretty good reason for doing the fall. Do we want to make it in the journal that it should be appointed in the fall? Because right now there's not a date for it.
You could, and I would also advise that maybe that be a separate amendment so that we don't have amendments to amendments. But also, I could just put that in my transition guide for the Chief of Operations as like a recommendation. Senator Rivera?
Yeah, was there any specific reasoning behind making this a standing committee rather than like a Senate committee?
Yeah, so I wanted to open this up to people who wanted to be in this committee and be involved in government relations, but didn't necessarily want to put the full-time commitment forth to be in Senate. And I also didn't want to take away from the population of current Senate committees too. It's like academics shouldn't have to fight with people who are looking for a government relations committee spot too. Senator Fugit?
There we go. Earlier this session, we had when we changed or made amendments to the bylaws and journal, we also said to have in there, with the attempt to have at least one graduate student on there, and I noticed that's not on this one, so would that be something procedurally or to put in here as we did before?
So I believe that was for student fees and for the Senate committees, but I don't actually know off the top of my head where that is or what that looks like. If you wanted to add it to this, then you most certainly could in a separate amendment. However, I would also state that I think that having a specific seat reserved for a graduate student is really great for a situation where you have a lot of people competing for this, but I don't necessarily foresee that as being the case, at least for now. You can take with that what you will as far as whether or not to introduce that bit, but I just feel like we're going to have we're going to be glad to accept people rather than trying to find specific people in specific demographics for this spot. Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, we will now move into the debate period on the amendment. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate? Senator Balzer?
Unless, in case my questions didn't make it clear, I'm going to be voting in favor of this amendment and of this bill overall. I think it has some really strong additions to the Chief of Operations. I think it handles a lot of issues that may not be necessarily apparent or terrible for the organization, but being able to fix these early and seeing initiatives, I think, is a really strong thing. I think there might be some areas where this amendment might be able to be bolstered in specifics or otherwise, but I think we can just work that on amendment later on. I think as it stands, it still works very well.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate? All right, seeing none, we'll go into the voting period on the amendment. If you're in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. The amendment carries, so the bill is now amended, and we'll move into the debating period on the amendment. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate?
Point of order, was that the amendment or the bill?
Yes, so right now we're on the bill because we just passed the amendment. Also, that's a point of parliamentary inquiry. I appreciate the effort. That being said, is there anyone wishing to speak in debate on the bill? Senator Enns?
Yeah, okay, so this is something that I've just been talking about with my Safety and Student Services Committee, and then that kind of carried over to adjusting the current positions that we already have. So I will be voting in favor. I wanted to keep this a little bit open because the reason that I didn't want to put as many specifics in as maybe have been talked about today is that, we don't really know where this is going to go. I won't be here. I'm very excited that this is becoming a thing, hopefully. But I won't be here, and I want people that are wanting to start this and get involved to be able to really make those decisions about how they want the committee run and who needs to be on the committee. I know there's, when we have projects starting up, that there's a lot of adjustment, and so I don't want to make it too hard for people to adjust. So those are the reasons that I decided to not put as many specifics in here. But I'm very excited that, there's hopefully going to be a committee that's able to advocate for what we're doing here outside of student government, and I believe that's going to expand the scope of SGA a lot, and we're going to have more people really being invested in, what we're talking about here, and we're not just going to be sending legislation to people. We're actually going to be talking with them about these things, so that is why I will be voting in favor. I'm really excited.
Senator Mouse, I'd just like to apologize. Apparently I said on the amendment instead of on the bill, so that probably would have been a point of order then, so you're all good. Senator Laughlin?
I also will be voting in favor just because I think it's important as a group that we split our skill sets up by our committees, and that we have a committee where the people who are on it have gifts for writing legislation and looking at the journal and editing it. I think that is going to be a really valuable addition to this Senate, and I just want to commend Matt Madden for making that a thing. So, I'll be voting in favor.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate? Senator Berth?
I'll be speaking in favor, and mainly due to constituent feedback. They have expressed that they have seen a lot of potential behind something like this. They've also done very similar things within themselves, so they kind of see a reflection in that and are very happy to see it as such. With that, I think the way it is now offers a lot of room for flexibility, and in the Marines we always say stay semper gumby, which is always flexible. So I like it as it is.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving into the voting period on this bill. All those in favor of the bill, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. SB-61-081 has passed by a majority vote of the Senate. Moving into Section 9, New Business, Item A, FB-61-051, Auxiliary Funding Request. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
So the first group you already heard from, and I apologize for what happened earlier. I'd emailed the president, and I knew that they'd gone on their trip. They just couldn't be scheduled in time to meet before their trip. And I'd emailed the president, and I said, is this the exact amount? And she told me yes. So I think there might have been some miscommunication with their group about what the actual amount would be. But I would highly suggest you all amend the bill just so we don't have to pass it again, to ensure that the group can receive whatever maximum amount that they need. Let me scroll up to the minutes real quick. If someone would like to write this down to make the amendments, I think Senator Laughlin already did, but it's $1,143.39, I believe, just to double check that number. for 1,000, sorry, okay, yep, she has it down, so she'll make that amendment. Another group that unfortunately could not be here but is requesting funding is Halo for their Miss Latina pageant. They did send me a little paragraph to read. WSU Halo's second annual Miss Latina WSU 2019 is a scholarship pageant that gives WSU Latina students a chance to utilize the platform for their own benefit of becoming a leader on campus and in the community. Considering that this is a scholarship pageant, there will not be a swimsuit segment because it would go against our educational and professional guidelines for our contestants. Miss Latina WSU 2019 will be having a cultural talent onstage interview and an evening gown segment followed by the crowning. This year we are focused on empowering our Latina contestants by letting them introduce themselves, teach the audience about how unique their cultures are, show the audience their passions on stage, and display their confidence and elegance in their personalities. With SGA sponsoring this year's show, it'll speak volumes on how much SGA supports the Latino community, specifically Latina education, and how it can unify the student body as a whole by inspiring others to feel empowered in their own cultures and passions amongst each other. With that being said, thank you all for your consideration for Halo's request, and we hope to see you all in attendance for Miss Latina WSU 2019. So the reason that the amount allocated and the amount requested are slightly different is specifically in the t-shirts line. They requested $80 for t-shirts. However, after asking them about it, they said that they printed the t-shirts a little late, so they'll actually be giving the t-shirts out on the day of the event as part of the goodie bag package. And originally it was supposed to be for when they do community service and community outreach before the event, they would wear the t-shirts. So the committee just felt like we wanted to fund the hard costs of the event and what students would be seeing and paying attention to at the event. So we didn't necessarily feel like t-shirts was really in addition to that, so we decided not to fund that. And we let them know of their decision, or our decision, and they said they completely understand it. So.
Are there any questions for the author? Senator Wright?
So this is the second annual one. Do you have any information about how they funded it in the past and why they're coming to student government this year?
I'm not sure how it was funded in the past. I'm sure Student Affairs probably gave some money, and I think that they probably took from their own org funds, and they probably did sponsorships. So I think that they'll be fine in future years if we fund this, but I'm not really sure, how they funded it in the past. Gabe can speak to that, though.
So last year it was co-sponsored between a few different groups, and those groups decided not to put it on again, but the Halo organization wanted to. So without those additional groups helping to support and fund it, that's kind of why they're coming back to SGA for money.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Gibson?
Is there a reason that they chose not to fund it again?
No, I think it was just kind of, from my understanding of talking with the students, I think it was the student group that they worked with last year was Sigma Lambda Beta International Fraternity, and they did the Dream Run during the same time. So I think it was just too much going on at the same time, because that was their way of contributing to the DACA scholarship that they're a part of. So I think it was just too much at the same time that they didn't have enough resources or time to do both.
Senator Rivera?
Yeah, so I assume, or I imagine that the committee requires some kind of receipts or proof that this is what they're requesting and they need to spend that much. Is that right? So the receipts that you have for the first group, do they show 13, 17, 37?
So I didn't ask them to submit receipts beforehand because I didn't know it would pass the Senate. I mean, yes, we knew it would pass, but I hadn't officially given them the congratulations, you've passed Senate, you can submit your receipts now. So, when they come in, I'll know, but the amendment still needs to be made.
Senator Enns?
So just to be clear, even if we don't, if we do pass the funding bill with an amendment that is for a additional amount, they wouldn't receive that unless they provided receipt proof that, they used those funds for that reason, right?
That's correct. So the way that reimbursement has worked the entire year is you could fund an organization $2,000, they could make a $50 purchase, and if they only turn in receipts for $25, we would only reimburse them $25. So if they don't meet that amount and they only meet the 13, 17 or whatever, then we would only reimburse them whatever receipts they've turned in.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving into the debating period. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate? Senator Laughlin.
I'd just like to make an amendment to the transportation line to add in the extra, wow, throwing my things, to add in the extra cost. So the transportation line would be $414.59 instead of $297.37.
It has been motioned to amend the bill. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have more to add.
Can you repeat the number?
Yes, 414.59.
All right.
It's 39, so my math was off. So 39, 414.39. 20 cents.
Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate on the amendment? Senator Enns.
Yeah, so I will be speaking in favor. Specifically, I can vouch for their president for AIGA, and I've known her since freshman year. I'm confident that that amount was used for what it was used for, so I would just like to put that out there that I can vouch for her character, and I am sure that these people are being honest, and that's a great opportunity. As an artist myself, that's always a great opportunity to get feedback. And Halo, that's awesome to fund them as well. That seems great. So,
is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate on the amendment? All right, seeing none, we'll move into the voting period on the amendment. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. We'll move into debate on the bill itself. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate? Senator James.
So I'll be voting in favor of this. I'll be speaking on the second organization, Halo. I spoke to, first off, Grace, who is the chair of the Miss Latina pageant, and she told me that it wasn't going to be, your normal pageant. It's more focused on education and basically telling us more about the Hispanic community. And also, I spoke to some of the contestants as well, and they're really excited, and they see it more as not competition, but like I said before, a way to have a platform to talk about their culture, bring light to Latina education, and bring light to the Hispanic community as a whole. So not only am I eager to vote yes for this, I'm also eager to attend and learn more about this culture.
Is there anyone else? Senator Laughlin.
Yeah, I'll also be voting in favor. I think it's really cool that the AIGA, that they came, they had a representative come and just speak to us and just kind of inform us of what we will be reimbursing them for. They seemed really to have their stuff together. And then I know several people who are going to be in Miss Latina, and that's going to be an awesome event. I will also be singing during the ball gown section, so I'm very excited just to be able to support one of my DG sisters is going to be in it, so I'm really excited to support her in that. So yeah, I'll be voting in favor.
Is there anyone else? Senator Balderrama.
Yeah, I will also be voting in favor of this. Specifically, I just want to speak on Halo. I went to the Miss Latina pageant last year, and it was just very beneficial for both the contestants and the people who were there because they got to learn about the different cultures, which I think is very, very important. And then also, it is a scholarship pageant, and the winner from last year, she was a DACA student, and so this was just a great opportunity for her to be able to receive funds for her education that she wouldn't have had otherwise, because it is very limited for DACA students. So it is a really great opportunity just for the contestants and for the community as well.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate? Senator Balzer.
I'll be voting in favor of this motion. I just wanted to make a statement. This is probably the last AUX funding bill that there will be for this session. And with this activity that has been solely done by this session, out of our own funds, by my count, we have assisted roughly 20 to 40 individuals and organizations with the funds outside of our accounts, and that has made a really big difference in their organizations and the WSU community. So if your goal in SGA was to try to make a difference and try to better serve the students that we do serve, then voting yes on these AUX funding bills and helping fund these organizations have been a great boon for a great many amount of people, and I want to commend that.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in debate? All right, seeing none, we'll move into the voting period on the bill. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. FB-61-051 has passed by a majority vote of the Senate. Moving into item B, SB-61-082, amendment to statutes S027. Does the author wish to speak to this bill?
Okay, so this is the famous bill we've been talking about for a while. So I'll go through 2 and 3 really quickly, just because those are the easier sections where it's not as like substantial or significant changes. So for section 1, the changes to that, for example, are just to make sure that individuals can only apply for a summer and a spring, one each semester, like they already are. However, whenever you add in summer funding, some people might be confused. So 1131 is just to clarify that any summer funding will be considered a spring request, to make sure that you still get the one each semester and not 3 a year, because summer could arguably be called a semester. Next, 121 talks about, should multiple members of a group request individual rather than organization funding for a group function, their request shall not be considered unless the requests are deemed appropriate by the treasurer. So occasionally we do have a lot of individuals request to go to some sort of conference that a lot of other people are going to. So I think that it should be up to the treasurer to deem whether it is an organization request disguised as multiple individual requests, or if it's a lot of individuals that don't necessarily know each other that are ending up going to the same conference for research purposes. That's not necessarily their fault that they're all going to the same one and applying for funding. It should be when deemed appropriate by the treasurer. Next, 127 says that individuals not requesting lodging may be asked to provide additional proof of attendance. So it used to say must, and I just don't think that that's necessarily required. Whenever you apply for funding in the first place, you already have to submit proof of attendance, proof of acceptance of conference. So I feel like any additional proof is not really needed just because you don't pay for a hotel room or because you're staying with someone you already know in the area. So it says may be asked to provide just in case the treasurer sees something a little bit fishy, like they don't have registration costs or something like that, and the treasurer needs like pictures of a student speaking at a conference. It's not required now, it's just if the treasurer asks, then this may be presented. I also struck out 137. That was just an old policy. That's not paperwork that anyone fills out anymore, so it doesn't make sense to keep it in the journal. For section 2, we struck out 223, or part of 223, which says with no one participant exceeding $100 in allocation. Basically for that one, it's just if an organization wants to request $250 for registration, regardless of how many students or how much registration costs per student, they're allowed to request it. For 224, or 2241, for air travel, $1,000 flat fee. So it used to be $300 per student for up to 4 students, so up to $1,200. However, occasionally we would get organizations that bought tickets for less than $300 for 6 or more students, but they could technically only fund 4 students for the $200 that they paid. So this is just a $1,000 flat fee for all students that are going on air travel for whatever conference. And along with that, there's not really a way for me to enforce it. The way that org funding works is after they submit their receipts, I reimburse the safekeeping account, and then after that, it's up to the organization to reimburse its students. So there's not really a way for me to make sure that each of the 4 students get up to $300. Along with that, 225 was added in. I think we took that out originally because we took it out of or individual funding, so we decided to take it out of org funding. However, I think it's important to add this because then if this isn't in here, then it means our organization's allowed to request $1,400 because they're traveling by air, and then after that they're renting a car. Or are they allowed to do $1,400 for air and then Uber around the conference? I think this just makes the most sense to keep it in. I think it was accidentally struck out previously. 226, this is the same thing as 223, so I won't go into detail about that, but it's just up to $400 total for the organization. And then 236, agendas for projects must be submitted in writing if requested by the treasurer. They already submit kind of their agenda for their projects whenever they submit an application, and I'm not really sure what in writing means. I think they mean like it must be written out, but I guess if the treasurer ever needs it, then the treasurer can request it, but it's not a requirement anymore because I haven't been requiring it. So, okay, so for the big section, number 1, Section 1 at the very end will add 1.4, which is the procedure for individual funding for summer travel. So currently, the process for summer travel is you have to apply sometime in the spring, sometime before the session ends, and sometime before money runs out. So theoretically, if you travel sometime in August, like even mid-August before school starts, you would have to apply it before April. And funding typically runs out in April, so you would have to apply theoretically, in this case, this year, before February. Or sometime in February for travel that doesn't take place until 8 months later. For a lot of grad students, I realized this was a really, really big issue. It's kind of ridiculous to request that they apply 8 months early. They don't know if their papers have been accepted. They don't know if their research has been accepted. They don't know if they can go to the conference 8 months out. This is to allow them more time and to allow them more money to apply for summer travel. And if you think about it, it's a little bit more fair because if you consider summer travel as part of the spring request, then if you split individual funding, which is $30,000 in total between the 2 semesters, then you get $15,000 for the fall semester, which is September, October, November, December. And then for spring travel, you would get $15,000 to split over 8 months. So that doesn't really make any sense. This would be better for money and timing. I won't go through individually each of the rules as much because you can read it, but I'll kind of go over the general idea for it. So 141 is just defining like the timing and what qualifies as summer travel, just so someone doesn't try to interpret, oh, well, I travel on this date, so that should be considered summer travel. Just that's a very strict parameter of summer travel is like this time to this time. Additionally, it also says that you can require or you can request either summer or spring travel, but not both. Next, for 142, just reestablishes the 45-day rule just in case anyone wants to apply for 20 days because it's summer travel. It's not any different. It's still 45 days in advance, just like individual and just like org travel. For 143, I understand that the wording for 143 is a little bit confusing. We discussed it in Budget and Finance just recently, so we'll make sure to amend that before next week comes up. But 143 basically says that a summer budget and Finance Committee will be formed to approve the funding requests so that Senate doesn't have to be in session because you all won't be in session, so you can't approve it. But it will be formed, and like the requests will pass through that body unless the requests are happening and they're turned in during the current year's session and while Budget and Finance is still going on. So the reason for this is, imagine if you were traveling in May, late May, that means that in April you could still apply for funding, or in March you could still apply for funding because that's, well ahead of like when you should be planning, or that makes sense in your terms of planning. It's only 2 months before, which is very normal. But we would have to wait to pass that request while Senate is still here, and we would have to wait to pass that request while Budget and Finance Committee is still here. So 143 just says that we'll establish this committee, and the committee will only be in use when Senate is like not in session and when Budget and Finance Committee is not here, because otherwise it would just pass through the normal process. Next, the committee shall consist of at least 3 senators and the treasurer of the association and another executive cabinet member. And it says at least, so we could appoint 10 senators if they all were interested in being on this committee if the next session decided to. And then the next rule establishes when the committee must be appointed, or when the next committee must be appointed. So we would not be appointing the summer funding committee. It would be the next session, the 62nd session, for example, that comes in. And they have to do that before the spring semester ends so that the committee can meet and pass stuff. Next, the rule just talks about that they can vote on email or vote through email, just so if people can't make it, that's not a reason to not be on the committee. We can still send out narratives and everything through email. I might take that out because it's kind of, the committee can decide how they meet and how they vote, so I think that's kind of implied that the committee can vote through email, so we might strike that one. Next, the treasurer must issue a detailed report to the Senate by the 4th Senate meeting of the fall on the allocated summer funding. This will be after after fall travel is all over with, and it just increases transparency so that more people know who traveled during the summer, how much money did we really spend, how much was allocated, stuff like that. Next, 144 is sets up the budget. I think the summer funding budget should really depend on how much money was needed or how much money is spent throughout the year in individual funding. Ideally, we would set aside some funding for that before the summer begins, in like the very beginning of the session. However, that doesn't always happen, but what will happen this year and what might happen in the future years is that the treasurer will suggest, the current treasurer will suggest to the new session and the new cabinet, I think we should set aside about $5,000 for individual funding. This is why I've seen 10 people come to me and they want summer funding, and I think that, we might see like 5 more. Or I've seen a lot of interest, or I haven't seen that much interest. This is how much money we have left in our funds that we can allocate towards this. So it's up to the next session to deal with that money and to pass the money. And finally, 145, all the same regulations for individual travel apply to this. So $600 maximums, $1,000 maximums, and no like food, entertainment, stuff like that. So pretty much everything is the same. It's just who does it pass and how much money is allocated during this time of travel.
Are there any questions for the author at this time? Senator Wang?
Yeah, you talk about like during summer, like the committee, because this year we don't know who will be the new treasurer yet, right? So is that means, because the election process is a little bit different, so like we don't know who's the new treasurer, and then we don't know how many senators we will get during this year's summer, so the requirement of 5 people in the committee, if we don't meet that, does that means they aren't able to vote to pass summer request?
So I think your concern about there not being a treasurer yet is valid, but they will appoint a treasurer, and until then, like, the current year's treasurer will be the treasurer. So I think it's fine if the current year's treasurer is the one that's in charge of the committee for a little bit if need be. Additionally, the transition process or the period for the treasurer is a month and a half long. So the treasurer will be here until about June anyway. So I think it'll be okay if the next session is not in yet. Along with that, consisting of 3 senators, I would hope that there are at least 3 senators that are in Senate or get elected or get appointed. So I don't think necessarily that having that number hinders anything. And I think that setting up the numbers is a good idea, because what I don't want to happen is 2 people, the treasurer and another cabinet member who are paid to be here and are for sure here throughout the summer, are just approving a ton of people and spending a lot of money. I want to make sure that for transparency purposes, because it's the Senate's money as well, that the Senate has a good chunk of people in there as well. I hope that answers your questions.
Senator Fugit?
Hey, I think this might be one question or not. So, as it is now, we as the Senate vote on approving the funding. So is this going to go bypass the Senate voting on it, or would it be something that maybe comes up on the first one to,
So as it stands now, this would bypass the Senate. And the reason for that is because if it comes up at the beginning of the year, I mean, I guess that's an option, but that means that people that travel in June can't be reimbursed until sometime in September. And I know that a lot of students need that money like as soon as possible. So that's why it bypasses the Senate, because this is kind of like an immediate, like, we want people to have their funding passed and for them to know. An alternative to just passing it through the committee is if we wanted to do an email vote throughout the summer. So that's something that we can absolutely amend, and that's something that we've been looking at and that we can change. So maybe instead of, not even instead of, I don't think you would have to strike anything. I would just potentially add like another point somewhere that says that the Budget and Finance Committee will screen through these, and then the Senate will pass individual funding requests by email vote throughout the summer. I guess my fear with that would just be that senators sometimes go MIA during the summer, or a lot of senators drop during the summer, so we would have like a lot of people that just don't respond to the emails, and it would pass through the senators that are paying attention / probably already on the committee anyway. But that's something that we can talk about, that we can absolutely amend to make sure that it passes through more hands. I think Gabriel had something to say as well.
Yeah, and I think if you all remember when we passed the email clause of our voting, there was a lot of parameters around that. So a single person objecting to it ends the whole vote. So while it's not a bad idea, do also consider the parameters that are set up through voting over email and what that may or may not look like transparency-wise in whatever it is when it comes to approving funding. So I think I would consider just the parameters that were set up around email voting. It was primarily designed for when we're in session on campus and there's that where we have to cancel a meeting and something like that, not necessarily, and the intent, in my belief, not necessarily over a 3-month break when we're gone for summer.
Senator Laughlin.
How many people would you say, I guess you only have 1 year, but how many people would you say apply for summer funding? Like, how much do we usually give, and like how many people usually apply?
I'd say this summer it was skewed because we approved some sort of org that applied as individuals. So there were like 13 of them, plus a few more that traveled throughout the summer. If I had to give like a ballpark estimate of people that we've had to turn away because we ran out of funding or because it was just too late to pass, and of people that traveled throughout the summer, I would say probably 10 to 15 or so that have been really vocal about, I'm traveling during the summer, I need money, or they've applied like when they needed to.
Mm-hmm.
How would that funding look? I know you said it right now it looks like $15,000 per semester, so would you then split it into thirds? Like, what is the plan for that?
So I'm not really sure how it will look in the future sessions. I'd imagine that eventually SGA requests more money for individual funding in the student fees process. However, this year what it would look like is we'll pull money from auxiliary funds that we haven't used. And maybe in the future sessions, there's this thing called encumbering, which is when you set aside a certain amount of funds to be used when, cash is swept and as the fiscal year passes. So in the future, maybe potentially what could happen is SGA requests $35,000 in individual funding, $15,000 for each semester, and then $5,000 is encumbered for throughout the summer. But it's up to the next treasurer. It depends on what the needs look like this summer as well.
Senator Fugit.
Okay, this is somewhat of a follow-up of the previous question. We do have email voting procedures, so how would that relate to 1.4.3.2?
In terms like how would that relate to it? Like, I was already planning on striking 1.4.3.2 anyway because the committee can choose how to vote. So
what I guess what it is we have our email voting rules applicable only to the Senate or applicable to all of the committees?
They're applicable only to the Senate. So when the committee votes on something, there's no written rule somewhere that there's an official vote, that quorum has to be met, that it's just kind of like the way that Budget and Finance Committee works is that we typically just reach a consensus because it doesn't get past the treasurer if it's not like a real conference. So the committee is there to ask more questions and get some more in-depth understanding, but we typically always have a resounding yes or a resounding no to people anyway. So there's no formal, we have to send out a bill, every single person has to reply yay or nay within the next 48 hours or else they abstain. We could set something up if we would like, but I don't think that Budget and Finance Committee needs to have something that formal, unless it is something extremely contentious and we need to record that, 3 senators voted no and 2 cabinet members voted yes. Everything's still Open Records Act, though, so, if people needed to request that later on, like if Senate wanted to look through the treasurer's emails to see what happened on this vote, then they could absolutely do that at any time.
Are there any other questions? Senator Wang?
Sorry, I just want to ask, because we know that Budget and Finance Committee was formed after the Senator retreat, right? So in that case, during summer, they don't have a Budget and Finance Committee, right? How are they going to vote on next session?
Yeah, so this would just be, this is just a summer Budget and Finance Committee would happen. I understand that senators will not be necessarily they might not know each other well, or they might not know the duties of the committee well, but I would hope that the next year's session would educate those senators as soon as possible to let them know this is kind of how it works, and then we would appoint them as soon as possible, and then they would kind of learn the process on the way. So Budget and Finance Committee in the fall is completely separate from summer Budget and Finance Committee. If the members would like to continue on in Budget and Finance Committee in the fall, then they can. If they don't want to, they can absolutely go to another committee. I think Gabriel also had something to say about that as well.
And additionally, I think it's also to keep in mind that SGA over the summer, while we're not in active session of the Senate, the association still functions. And watching and kind of observing last summer, we were financially bound to be unable to expend dollars over the summer if we needed it because we need the Senate to vote on it. And so this mechanism, as yes, it goes through individual and org funding, could also be utilized to allow us to still function, and I'm sorry, it's very echoey, but still function over the summer if we need to. And so while there are parameters that allows the treasurer to approve funding that doesn't require the Senate's permission, I think there's still a safety net that allows us to continue to function and this association to continue to operate even when we're not in a full session of the Senate. And so I think that's also one of the intents of why this conversation is happening, to be able to fix the wrongs that we have been unable to do in the past, and then basically our hands are tied sometimes over the summer because we can't spend money if we don't get permission to do so.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, this is a first read, so we'll go into debate on this item next week. Moving into section 11, remarks and announcements. First of all, make sure to do your senator hours by tonight, friends. And also, previously, I think it was Senator Laughlin commended me for the bill. Thank you. But also, it was Haley's idea to even do the government relations committee to begin with. So we should all commend her as well for her work. That being said, is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Senator Rivera?
Yeah, I just have I have an answer to Senator Fugit's question. There were 10 total departments that nominated people, and the Department of Biological Sciences had the most nominations with 3.
Senator Enns?
Yeah, so I have a show currently up at the Donut Hole with some of my work and my students' work, and the formal reception, and when everything is going to be very well put up with labels, will be this Sunday. So that's the 14th at 7 p.m. and there's going to be lots of cool jazz and donuts and some work up for sale. So, you should come by and listen to my boyfriend's band.
Senator Allais.
This weekend, the 13th of April, the Festival of Colors, known as Holi, will be taking place at the Hubbard Hall Courtyard from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. The Hindu Student Association has already come to SGA like twice, come to speak about Holi. We've approved for funding, so it would be really nice to have fellow SGA members at a Holi event. If you're coming, just as a disclaimer, wear white, don't wear something really nice because it's a lot of colors and you're going to ruin your clothes. Entry fee is also $5. You can get it there or you can get it beforehand. Yeah, thanks.
Senator Fugit.
I'm not Senator Fugit, but I guess I'll go. Last week I did I posted a 2-question survey just gathering logistics for the Salvation Army. The guy who I'm connected with through Salvation Army said that there was only about 6 people responding. It's really quick. It's only 2 questions. It takes literally less than 10 seconds. If you don't even want to click the link, if you just come up to me and say, hey, can I answer those questions, I can just ask you to them and then log it myself. But I'm going to post it to the Discord again just to see. So if you want to do something really easy and help the Salvation Army, then feel free. I just posted it in Discord.
Senator Mounts.
So on a more depressing note, I learned this Monday that an old friend of mine had committed suicide from high school. And it kind of brought up the importance of your mental health and in this semester, and as the end of the semester comes up in the next few weeks, I encourage all of you to just make sure that you're paying attention to your mental health, and also please seek out any of the resources on campus if you do need it. And I also please ask that you keep my friends, family in your thoughts and prayers.
Senator James.
The event we just funded tonight, Miss Latina, will be held April 20th in the CAC Theater. Tickets are $10. If you want one, you can come and see me.
Senator Maddock.
Okay, I am not going to be able to make it to the banquet on the 26th. It's a Friday, and the event that I've been planning since December called Final Fest Music and Arts Festival is going on that day, but it goes from 3 p.m. to midnight, so y'all should come either before or after, listen to some music. There's going to be food trucks and an ice cream truck, and an art installation, and it's going to be really, really, really cool, and it's free, and I would love to see you guys there after the banquet or before.
Senator Fugit.
Anicia couldn't make her diversity task force report tonight, and so the Diversity Task Force just wanted to make sure that the Senate knew that the Inspire dinner that was planned for next week, if you knew about it, wasn't happening. We as a committee, we were exceptionally disappointed that the cabinet had canceled it. We worked for over a month on the dinner to honor underrepresented high school students, and we'd like to make sure that it happens next year, since it was the bulk of our budget, and it's important that student government reach out to incoming freshman leaders and future shockers. So Inspire's not happening next week.
Senator Bogle.
Yeah, I just have another event for you guys to put on your calendar. It's going to be April 17th from 5 to 7:30. I understand that coincides with committee and Senate, but if you want to pass it on to your constituents, the Student Bench Organization is going to have a dodgeball tournament in the Heskett Center.
Okay. Senator Allais.
Yeah, I forgot to mention something else. So this Friday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., the Orrick Museum will be having the summer exhibit opening. I highly encourage people to show up. Most times I do see a lot of elderly people as guests. Hopefully you have more younger people showing to appreciate art. There's nothing wrong with just old people coming to see art, by the way. It's just really nice to see younger people appreciate the art we have on campus. I think they are severely underrated. So I'm unaware at this point about what the art context is about, but I know it's going to be good because I do work at the Org, so please do show up. It's from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. There's going to be some snacks, there's going to be wine, I guess, so please show up.
Senator Laughlin.
I have several events. I'll try and post them all in Discord. But so this Saturday, the Green Group is going to do a trash cleanup from 9 to 11. We're going to go to the Great Plains Nature Center and just do it along Oliver. There's a lot of trash on the road, like right next to the road, that it just ends up in the brush there. So we'll be doing right there. We'll meet at the Metroplex and then walk over together. April 16th and April 23rd. So April 16th, there is a clothing swap, like kind of a recycle sort of thing, at the flats. So you can take your clothes and you get a certain amount of tickets for however many items of clothes you bring, and then you can use those tickets to go buy other people's clothes that they brought. So essentially it's just like circulating, creating a circular economy in the clothes, and you get it for free if you bring your own stuff, which I know a lot of us are doing spring cleaning, so it's good anyways. So that's April 16th from 7 to 9, and then they're doing it again at Shocker Hall, April 23rd, 7 to 9 again. And then April 22nd, which is Earth Day, my favorite day of the year, they're doing the Earth Pod. So we have like the Lock Pod. You guys heard about that? Over by the Experimental Engineering Building. They're going to have an Earth Pod one. And Green Group is going to be tabling, but it'll just be that Tuesday from 11:30 to 1:30, or Monday maybe? Monday, thank you. From 11:30 to 1:30, so just come out and support the revealing of that art, and then Earth Day. It'll be like Earth Day activities kind of stuff. So that's all I got for you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Senator Khan.
Hello, everyone. So we all know that Senator Khan is about to become Citizen Khan. So just a reminder, April 19th, Century 2, 12 p.m. Be there. And if you're not there, I guess that's fine. But yeah, just a reminder, also, Senator Zacharias and I are matching. So I don't know why you all didn't get the memo, but that's a thing.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Senator Enns.
Oh, okay. So, I'm really into Marvel, right? Okay. And I think it would be really awesome after the SGA banquet if some of us went to see Endgame. That's just a thought. So, Final Fast is really fun. Yeah, I'm sorry. But I want to see it because, Spider-Man might come back, So, if anyone wants to see Spider-Man come back because Tom Holland is amazing and so is Spider-Man. Yeah, but, okay, well, just saying, I would love to get that together, so talk to me. That's it. What?
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in remarks and announcements? President Rowell.
So apparently we had a line out the Shocker support locker, I think it was yesterday. So if you have any spare time, a spare 30 minutes here or there, if you could go help out Daniel and Bobby, this is an extremely busy time for the support locker, especially since we got over 200 or 300 pot pies that are now in the freezer. Apparently everyone is flocking for the frozen goods. So if you have some time in your schedule to go help them out, I'm sure they would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. Also, it counts for Senate hours.
Treasurer Yang.
So with the bill that just came up, I want to remind you all that if you have any changes, I think it would be easiest and most, effective to deal with that before it hits the floor on Senate, because what we don't want to do is re-explain to anyone what we're doing. I think it'd be best if we got through amendments beforehand and then we kind of let everyone know these are the better changes that they were made. I understand that this isn't the perfect final bill. My intention was to get it out so that we could talk about it, and because it needed to be passed soon. So please feel free to reach out to me with any amendments, and you can just message me on Discord. We don't have to have a full-on one-on-one in my office or anything like that.
Director Fonseca.
Yes, okay, I have 3 things. 1, don't forget about your step show tickets. April 27th, they're $10 right now in student involvement or Coke Arena or online. You can also do the group rate together. That would be great. 2, Sorry, I got lost. We are going to be hiring a summer student assistant for the shock and support locker because Bobby, who is currently in the locker, had an internship this summer, and we do plan on keeping the space open throughout the summer. So if you have anyone in mind that you think, oh, well, who needs a job over the summer for 20 hours, we will have that opening. If any of you would like a job, it makes minimum wage, don't get too excited. We will have that opening as well as potentially a third position in the fall just because of the number of people that we are serving. At the last Senate meeting, both Bobby and Daniel will be coming to present to you all the entire year's numbers, and that will include the number of students, faculty, and staff that utilize the space, the total number of items that were picked up, donated, money, all those things. So they're going to put together a wonderful full report. They have been very busy over the past week, so like Shelby said, if you do have some time that, hey, 30 minutes here that you can go down there and volunteer, they would very much appreciate that. They just got done unpacking the Dillon's order that we picked up a week and a half ago, a few days ago. And the last thing, next week the Election Commission will be submitting their recommendations to a few rules that they'd like to change in the elections code. They're going to finish drafting it this week so that we can send it to you all so you have it in advance. But if you see any of them, also please congratulate them for the work that they did over the past 6 months for running this election. They put in a lot of work into it, and I'm extremely proud of them. So as the people who put them in office, if you see them around, please thank them for the work that they did as well. That's it.
Is there anyone else? Senator Wayne?
So Hippodrome is this week. Gabe is wearing that shirt. So, and I don't know if they're still looking for volunteers. Yeah, they're still looking for volunteers.
Yeah. If you're like not busy tomorrow from 7 to 8:30, let me know because we need some people still.
Yeah, they need help, and it's a big event for Wichita State. It's like an annual tradition, so you should definitely go and check out all the performance. I'll be there on Saturday, so if you want to see me, yay, let's go. Also, the 22nd, it's the Youth Day from Community Service Board. They are having a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, and then it's like a youth day. If you need volunteer service hour, sign up. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Senator Berth.
So I've already talked to a few of you about this, but I figured I'd open it up for everybody. One of my professors, Ikram Ahmed, I may have butchered the name, I may not have, reached out to me to what? Yeah, I'm getting there. Hold on. It's got a process. I haven't had coffee. Calm down. See, now I lost my spot. Thanks. So anyway, he's looking for students for a couple committees that they are trying to create a energy and sustainability degree program at WSU, and they want some student feedback. Just forewarning, they've already gone through a bunch of the work. They're trying to create it for this fall, and they're just trying to get that last bit for student input. So if you know of anybody or you yourself want to serve on it, either contact him. I have his contact information I can give you, or come to me, I can give you more info.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? All right, seeing none, the meeting will be adjourned with a silent roll call at 8:41 p.m.